Okay, hello everyone. Hello, welcome into Melanin Gamers podcast. It's your girl, it's your hostess for the Moses, creatively Andy, and I'm here with almost the full squad today. I'm here with Obsidian Fury,
What's going on, gang?
and I'm also here with OG Otaku.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are here with some very special guests. As I said, you guys, we have our MG Dev Days, and are here with two very special guests of an amazing game. That's an Afrofuturistic RPG. But let them talk about their game and the thing that they have created as well. I will start with you first, Eric.
Well, I'm Eric Reynolds, and I'm the co-founder of Affirmate Studios. And I've been in the industry for 25 years. And this all started with an Uber ride. And I'm going to let Crandon take it from there.
Hi, my name's Crandon Dillard. I am a self-taught Unreal developer, and I have we've been working on Universe probably like 6 or 7 years. As Eric said, it started in the Uber ride. So about 3 years ago, I was driving, funding the game through working real estate and doing things of that nature, and I pick up a guy. And anybody who gets in my car, I'm gonna tell you, I make a video game. That's the first thing I'm gonna tell you. I'm making a game. I'm gonna tell you about the game I'm making. And it's funny because when I pick him up, it's like 12 o'clock at night, almost like the night's over with. And he's like, "Hey, I'm ordering a pizza. Do you mind waiting for my pizza to get done and then take me to the crib?" And I'm looking at it like, he's like, "I'll pay you $20 to wait." Of course. Turn the app off, and then we get to talking. I'm showing him, so now I got a bunch of time, so I can pull up the game and show him footage and all that. And he tells me, like, "Yo, I've been in the game industry. I worked for Riot and all that. Hey, it's just another dude." So I'm like, whatever. He gives me his number. I don't call him.
What?
Like 6 or 7 months later, like at that time, he hadn't lived in Charleston. He was just visiting. 6 or 7 months later, I pick him up again. And the guy gets into your space, he leans over the seat. "Hey, bro, how's your game going?" And I'm like, "Bro, like I don't remember him." So we had this really cool conversation. Turn the app off again, and he's like, "Put my number in your phone." I'm like, "Bro, why is your number in my phone?" He's like, "Because you've picked me up already."
You forgot about him. Oh my gosh, what?
Because I had never called him, because I'm like, it's just a random dude. He says he makes video games. I don't believe you. I pick up thousands of people. I don't believe this dude. Turns out I go to his LinkedIn. He shared the game on his LinkedIn the first time that I met him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so it had made enough of an impact on him that the very first time we met, he would, "Hey, I had this cool Uber ride. This guy's making the game. Y'all should check him out." And then I go in and do my homework on him. He hits me up and it's like, "Yo, we should work." And he asks me, "Do I want a job or do I want to turn this into a business?" I'm like, "Man, I'm cool. I don't work for nobody. I work for myself. I don't want a job. This is what I do." And he's like, "All right, well, let me show you how to make it a corporation." 3 years later, we're a corporation. We have 18 full-time employees, 4 interns across 4 continents. We have people in Nigeria, Ghana, Mali, and Brazil. And also we have some Jamaican Americans and as well as us African Americans, all working on an Afrofuturistic RPG. And as we tell people, we are a RPG with fighting game mechanics. And so we didn't want to just be unique because of the style, the look, the feel, but we also want to be unique in our gameplay so that you have a really cool experience that separates us from other RPGs out there.
That's amazing. That is
That sounds really cool. That's really cool.
That is
You know when people talk
amazing
about fate?
story. Like
That's
Yeah.
wild. You know when people talk about fate?
Definitely.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's yeah, okay. That's you win.
But also like a great like poster for just self-marketing. Always believe in yourself. Always, big up what you're working on. Let people know, because if you didn't speak about it, no one would have known. And
Yeah.
Self-promotion, definitely.
And being in the industry such a long time, like I've heard a lot of pitches, right? Like, and so there's a little part of the professional in you that's like, okay, pitch me your game. Everybody kind of does that a little bit because everybody's got a great idea. But what Crandon pitched me had like all the earmarks of an IP, not a cool game, but a franchisable IP. It had first and a great company too, a technical founder. It had a game universe that few people have played in before, if any. It had a deeply underserved audience, and it had a marketing advantage, because I know from being at most of the major publishers across this industry that no one's going to make a game like this. You know what? It's up to us to make this game. And then finally, it had such a clear vision in Afrofuturism that I knew it would attract other talent. And it has. And we talk about fate a lot at Aframe, because it didn't just start with Crandon and I. It started with our first investor, Ashley, who has been a saint to us. It started with our ability to create the work and do the steps. You know, Crandon and I vetted each other. We made sure we could work together. We made sure that each other was legit. And through that process, I felt so comfortable that I was like, yes, I'm going to open up every door I've ever earned in 25 years, and we're going to see if we can do this together. And the final thing is, you know, we're not just making a great game, but we were aligned on a mission, which is we want to create the first Black-owned publisher. And that doesn't exist in the industry. And so we set up the corporation so no matter how many rounds of dilution happen, as a company grows, you take investors, Crandon's going to be at the top of that pile. He's going to be the leader through all of that. And it came from a lesson that I learned as a previous founder, which is if the original visionary doesn't have the most amount of shares in the business, you become uninvestable. So I wanted to make sure that Aframe Studios and Unyverse, the game, was always investable.
That's fantastic. When we've actually, from the Melanin Gamers standpoint, we've also had the discussions with others when it comes to one, investing in us, but also kind of removing the mission from the kind of success that you could find within this space. And we're always conscious to make sure that the mission always comes first, like direction. Thankfully it's not me, it's Anzi that has to take on the heavy load of that because she's our founder. But she's always had like a very focused and directed mission when it comes to what we do at Melanin Gamers. So I can only imagine that's exactly how you guys would feel when it comes to having a specific mission and sticking to it. And it's like, to me, sometimes I can feel like day in and day out, nothing is happening. But then when you then take a look at like a longer period of time and you see just how far you've come,
yes,
it feels like amazing. Yeah. Like Andy always says that we should be thankful for the things that we used to pray for. And it's like, down the line, you're always like, oh, I just need that next thing. But then we should also take time to like look behind us and see how far we've come. And
definitely,
that's so powerful. It is so true, because I was tired of working for the corporations. I was tired of being I had a lot of influence. I was very senior, but I couldn't directly shape a game. And that was something that I prayed for. I wanted to work towards that goal. And it took this opportunity and the right partner who allowed me to be a part of his vision to reach that goal. And in the last year, when we stepped back, so we've been a legal corporation for just about a year and a half now. We worked together prior before setting up the corporation. But in this last year and a half, when you just put it on paper, it's a meteoric rise. But on the surface, it just looks like another indie game studio. But did I ever dream that we would be represented by CAA? That was another goal I prayed for. I didn't know it was going to come through the guise of being a studio leader with Crandon. I thought it was going to be because I was going to be a great filmmaker or a writer someday, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel so blessed that I met him and that we have such great communication. We We argue with each other well. We listen to each other well. And when things get hot, as they should, when you're creatively creating friction, like the marriage is still tight, right? Like it's like, okay, I'm a step away. I'll come back tomorrow and I'll be okay. And we both trust and respect each other's opinion. And that is, that is the co-founder journey, that one of the most important parts of starting a business with someone. Because when I asked Granted if he wanted a job or a business, I was like, look, you're talented. I can get you a job anywhere. But I was hoping he'd say he wanted to start a business, because this is what I was looking for. I was looking for an opportunity to create something very unique and very special with someone who is deeply aligned with doing that too, and not just trying to get video game famous, or land a senior job at Activision working on the next Call of Duty or something like that.
See, one of the things we say here is we got 3 core principles as a company: tell a great story, make a great game, and make an impact. If we can do those 3, then all the money and all the other stuff comes with being successful at those 3. Because if I tell a great story, you're not going to want to put the game down. You're going to want to live in that character. You want to live with what we're creating. If we make a great game, the game is going to sell. And if we make an impact, then we're doing our job as humans. And in our case, our mission is to create fantasy and sci-fi content centered around Afro-descendant people. So that's the impact, is creating that imagination and allowing us and people of color to imagine themselves in spaces where they have it. And so if we do those 3 things, then I don't have to worry about being successful, because we're automatically going to be successful. And that for us is how we structure and how we run our company, because we understand that those things are core to our business model. Now, that also then that determines who you can actually have as an investor. Because if you're coming in and you're looking at, hey, this is what I need to do because this is going to make a certain amount of money, well, guess what? You may not necessarily be the investor for us, because you won't necessarily understand why we need to take this and do this over here. And that was one of the things that had me say, hey, Eric, we can do this together, because he understood that. He understood that we have a purpose in what we're creating. Our creation is cool and it's fun and it's interesting, but we're creating that with a purpose, and our business is purpose driven. So, so when you said being able to look back and understand that journey, to get us here, and this started as a hobby, as an idea, literally started as a dream. I dreamed Unyverse at my old job. My phone's off. I don't have I can't call my ex-fiance at the time. I'm sleeping on the job because I'm like on my lunch break, go to sleep, wake up, and like, oh my God, this was so fun. I got to share this. So I start to write a sci-fi novel. I get about 6 or 7 chapters in, take it to my brother, and the guys like, yo, read this. He's like, yo, that's cool, but it'll be even better as a video game. And I'm like, oh snap, let me figure out how to make a game. And so I started out teaching myself how to make a game, because in actuality, if you think about it, that's the only way for people get to experience what I dreamed, is in the game, in the format of the game, because you get to hear, you get to touch, you get to do all those things. So you get to live what I lived. And that's what Unyverse does. It's allow you to, that dream that I had, it allows people to actually live in that. And we're super excited, because it ain't something you ain't never heard nothing like this. You ain't nothing played nothing like this. Yeah, we're pretty excited about what we're building.
I mean, I would say it's a testament how far you guys have come to your passion on the project, and how passionate you are about this game and the potential of this IP. Obviously, I've looked at it. I think we've all looked at it, and just looking at what you've got so far, my interest was more than piqued. I'm excited to see how far you guys can take this, and I feel like that may be the reception you're finding as you show it about to other people elsewhere. I don't know, you tell me, because obviously from the Uber ride, you saw something in it that really drew you to the potential of this project? So are you finding that as you show it around more to these other companies, that they too are seeing something special?
Absolutely. Crandon and I in a room are undeniable.
Yeah.
Crandon's vision is powerful. It's humble. He is always willing to say what he doesn't know. Like, hey, I'm not the guy to talk about that, which is such a powerful and such a humble ego, which is great. And then we collaborate. I become the ego. I become the trust factor to a lot of the publishers, which is I've shipped hundreds of games. I've worked on some of the most important games in the history of this industry: Mass Effect 2, League of Legends. I worked with Miyamoto at Nintendo. I worked on the Sims franchise, SimCity. I've worked on a lot of different stuff that is huge. And I can rattle that off, but it doesn't matter because it's what we've created on screen which really sells, right?
Mm.
And it's his vision and his humility and passion, and then the fact that it in itself has attracted other talent from across the industry. Our narrative designer came to us from Destiny 2. I mean, that's awesome. Our one of our core engine developers came to us from Microsoft, and he'd been building front end tools and front end experiences for years at Microsoft, and he's just like, I want to make games. And he saw our story and he became an investor and an employee. Talk about putting in twice the effort, right? Not just only putting your money to work, but also putting your skills to work. And we recognize and honor that. Like, he came to us with an idea for a Fortnite creator game that acts as sort of like a prequel. And we played it and we're like, yes, this isn't going to achieve all the goals of Unyverse, but as a prequel, as a bit of fun, as a, maybe a little bit of foundational storytelling, like that's cool. And maybe it'll bring people to us. And just, one more thing too, to tout Crandon's amazing abilities. For a self-taught Unreal developer, he figured out something that Epic hasn't figured out, and that no other developers that we've been able to meet have figured out, which is how to properly create Afro-descendant hair in Unreal.
You did that. Oh, that's not fun.
And so that alone has gained us some opportunity and notoriety, and it was one of the very first lessons that Crandon taught me about Black culture, to be honest with you. Like, early on, he was spending 90% of his time in the character creator and talking to me every day about hair. And I was in a very cheeky mood that day, right? And I said, because I was like, I need a demo, I need a gameplay, I need something in the back of my head, because I'm neurotic like that. But I said something cheeky to Crandon. I'm like, Crandon, we're not making Hair Simulator 1000. We're making a RPG. So I got to see that. And he's like, you don't understand. This doesn't exist in games. We've never seen ourselves fully represented in games, especially our hair. It's always it's always the Killmonger cut. It's always the, whatever, right?
Shaved head, cornrows. Yeah. And if you're lucky, maybe an afro.
He very softly humbled me, right? And showed me, hey, there are things about Black culture that I'll never experience or know. And just opened my eyes to the fact that when we first showed off the game at DreamCon, just the character creator alone was an emotional experience for some of the players.
Yeah.
The body shapes too that Crandon's working on, you've never seen in games either. That is an emotional experience for many players. And when we get the game to a point where it's telling this great story and you bring it all together, it's going to be great. It's it's going to be great, and it's going to be done by the right studio, the right people, for the right reasons, and I'm just so blessed to be a part of it.
I'm loving it.
Yeah,
See, that's why I work. That's why I work with this guy. That's why I work with this guy.
I think this is amazing. It sounds like it's going to be like a really great game. But you know what we haven't spoken about? I think just as to wrap up, like the actual pitch, of like the campaign, the narrative side of the game. Like, who do you play as and what the world is? Because you say you're like the best pitcher in the world, and you were able to get Eric on your side. So, what was the pitch that drew him in? Like, what was the story? The original story.
All right, so the story that you're playing in the game is first there what you've heard me use the term Wendaje. Wendaje is a status. It's a title that some people hold in this particular world. And Wendajes are basically, for this particular culture, they're like your catch-all. So they in the outskirts of the galaxy, they are your police officers, or I should say peace officers. They're your private eyes. They're your assassin. If you need something done and you need it done well, you're going to go hire a Wendaje to do it. And so what you play as, so in this particular world that we're building, I want you guys to think of our culture, of Black culture. And I guess I got to speak from like American Black culture. If you're poor and you don't necessarily know what you want to do, the first thing our parents usually tell us is go into the military. Like, yo, bro, like if you don't know, the military is going to get you straight. They're going to get you paid. You'll be good. So we play on that idea. So as a child who has the potential to be a think, which is what we call the people with powers, the military comes to the family and says, hey, if your child is great, if your child has this potential, give them to us. They'll get the best education, and your family will get a stipend. So almost having a think, or having a child with the potential to be a think, is almost like hitting the lottery. You know your family's straight if you have one. And so you play as a kid who was raised in that military system, and you got to do one tour, and then you can make a choice of whether you can get out or stay in. Your character has decided to get out because your character, like, I don't want nobody telling me when I gotta get up, where I gotta go, who I gotta fight. Like, you're like, yo, I wanna be my own man, my own woman. I want to set my own destiny. And so you decide to go to the edge of the galaxy where your auntie is at, because she's already this super cold, the baddest Wendaje on the planet. She got a whole Wendaje network. And so she like, I'm ready to retire. I want to turn it over to somebody. Who better than their young niece or nephew who just got out the military, that don't know what else to do, that hasn't really learned what the universe is outside of that military structure. Go to her and say, hey, teach me the ways of Wendaje and I'll take over your joint. Well, when you get there, you find out that there is a resource on the planet that is widely contested. The military wants to get their hands on it. The people on the planet want to get their hands on it. The local government want to get their hands on it. The galactic government wants to get their hands on it, and you stuck in the middle, and the corporations want to get their hands on it. So as a Wendaje, you got to decide who and what you're going to do contracts for, because your actions are going to help determine the fate of this resource. Now, this resource has also the potential to determine the fate of the rest of the galaxy. So your actions will then determine how the galaxy is shaped based off of who gets their hands on this resource that you as a Wendaje will have a really large part of shaping. And so what we wanted you to do is to put you in a story that's going to have you ask questions. Because Eric and I, we've had these conversations. There's very little black and white in the world. There's a lot of shades of gray. And not everybody, and one of the lines we have in the game is everybody's a villain to somebody. Yeah. And so what side and who and what actions will you take based off the information that you have? And now that information may not always be right. We may not always provide you with the right information because you don't always know everything. But you're going to have to make those decisions while you're playing the game of what it is what matters to you, what do you stand on, and then live with the consequences of whatever those actions may or may not be. And we hope that we give you our goal is to give you scenarios and situations that will make you pause before you make a decision. Where you like, do I want to take this contract? Maybe the corporation's gonna go ahead and break you off. Give you, a million beans to go ahead and turn the water off to this city or this little village. And do you go do that? Understanding that may cause a problem for the village, but it's good for you. But if you go and help the village and don't do this, then now the corporations are mad at you, and maybe you don't get this next mission that you could have if you did it. And so we really want you to start having to weigh these questions and weigh these options, and then find out. Let the chips fall where they may. Because if you play it one way, hopefully you'll feel like, hey, you know what? I need to go back and play it again and make some different choices and see how the world structured around me based off the choices I made. Hopefully that gave you a little sauce that you were looking for.
Thank you so much for breaking that down. That sounds amazing. It's definitely giving me, I think if you ever played the game Prototype, where you could be like hero or villain, depending on the different missions that you did, you became more villain or you became more hero. So it was just like you had to pick it.
Infamous, yeah.
And it was and Prototype and Infamous both had that same mechanic, and it was amazing. And so I love that sort of thing.
I worked on Prototype.
What?
I worked on Prototype.
Oh, well, I love that game.
Funny.
It's a brilliant game. And I like that mechanic that you could become bad or good depending on the missions you accepted. And I feel like that's a very underutilized mechanic in gaming. I don't see it in many games. I can count the amount of games that have used something like that. So yeah, I'm really
because
excited.
it's hard. It's really hard to behind the scenes it's basically a choose your own adventure system, right? Like and you're also trying to make that choose your own adventure balance, morality as you see it. Not we make no judgments on your choices, right? It's sort of morality as you see it. And that's very difficult. That's why a lot of developers, especially indie developers, create linear games or just create action games with zero story, right? Which all are great. There's tons of fun to be had. But this is a mammoth undertaking. So like I literally made every phone call to anyone who's ever made a game like this and said, hey, would you mentor us? And one of Crandon's mentors is one of the co-founders of BioWare, Ray Musica. And I worked on Mass Effect 2, and I was just like, Ray, like, please just lend us, an hour every now and again and, teach us how to create a studio and pass along whatever else you want to teach us. And we also just had the head of Warner Brothers Studios join us as an advisor, or a former head of Warner Brothers Video Game Studios, the production head, join us as advisor as well, because we need help, right? Like we are confident that we can execute, but we still need the professionals as we build ourselves as a studio to do it right and to do it well.
Cool. That's perfect. Thank you
great,
so
guys.
much.
No,
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've been here with two amazing devs from Unyverse with a Y. Am I saying that right? And also the rest of the team. I've been here with Obsidian Fury.
Was good, gang.
And OJ Taki.
Keep it OG, peeps.
It's your host from Moses, Creatively Anzi. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and wishlist. Bye, guys.